So what exactly is geolocation? Well, it's the ability of a web browser, at least in this respect, it's the ability of a web browser to be able to communicate with the outside world and find out where in the world that device is located. So geolocation may be used for many, many different applications, but often you'll encounter the need for geolocation when you're building mobile applications, or at least an application that needs to be aware of where the person actually is. The request patterns that are available to you are either the opportunity to ask for the location of the device one single time, and maybe you're building a movies application, and instead of requiring that someone puts in their zip code, you could use geolocation to find out where they are and show the movies that are available in their area. Or you may want to set up your application to continually ask for the coordinates or the position of the device. And this might be useful if, say, you're building a mapping application. But either way, the requests for position go out asynchronous to the browser. And so you'll make a call out to request position, some time will elapse, and when you get a response back, then you can do something with that information. Now let's review some of the techniques that are used in order to calculate location information. So the first approach is IP address, which is nice because it's available just about everywhere. Just about any device that's connected to the web ends up resolving an IP address. Process server side, which is great, so it doesn't take up resources on the client machine, but unfortunately it can be quite inaccurate. In fact, if you've ever done the search of where you are in the world on the web, especially if you're going through, say, a proxy server, the location can be hundreds of miles away from where you actually are. And sometimes in order to find out that information, there's a number of different servers that have to resolve within the line, a number of different hops that have to be made in order to figure out the final IP address to report. So IP addresses are one way of figuring out where you are, but not always the best option. GPS is another approach that can be used, which is great because it's very accurate. The only problem is sometimes it can take a while to figure out the location information and the coordinates. If you're indoors, if you're in a parking garage, GPS might not work so great for you. And obviously you have to have a device that has a GPS on it. So the right kind of cell phone or the right kind of handheld device. Wi-Fi is another technique available, which is generally pretty accurate. It does work indoors. It can give you a quick response. But it requires that you do have Wi-Fi available everywhere. So if you're out driving on the freeway and you happen to drive by a Starbucks, you might be able to get Wi-Fi connectivity, and then it might quickly go away. So it's you have to use the right tool for the right job in many cases. Cell phones can give you excellent reporting on exactly where you're at. So they're very accurate. They do work indoors. Quick response. But you do need the device again. You need the cell phone, and you also need to have service available. So in rural areas, being able to rely upon cell phone access in order to do location information may be difficult. The final thing that people often overlook is user-defined. And obviously, hopefully, unless you've had some really late nights out, you know where you are in the world. And the other thing about being able to have user-defined location information is that, let's say I'm in Southern California, but I'm going to Colorado to visit my family. Maybe I want to add in a zip code so that I can look up some restaurants or things that I want to do while I'm there. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility to designate alternate locations. And ultimately, it may be the fastest option, because if you're waiting on a bunch of these servers to resolve and figure out where you're at, it could be much faster. But it also can be inaccurate in the same sense, because unless you make sure that the user has updated this information when they move, you can report some results that are incorrect. And so the idea is that there's all these techniques that are available in order to figure out location information. And what the browser will attempt to do often is figure out the path of least resistance in order to find the location. And then it may make further requests in order to constrict the accuracy even further. And so all of these approaches may be used when trying to figure out the device's location.